I'm James Himm Mitchell, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's Oracle Outlook. In this video, I'll be doing a tarot card reading for the week starting June the 27th, 2016, so stay tuned. And here we are with the cards on the table, and the deck assisting me for this week's reading is the Universal Waite Tarot. It is by Waite Pamela Colman Smith, with coloring by Mary Hanson-Roberts, and it is published by US Games. So again, this is the Universal Waite Tarot deck. And now, taking the deck in hand, I'm going to shuffle the cards, and as I do for each of these weekly general readings, the intention is to give us information that is going to serve and support us in the experience that we will have throughout this week. You know, basically, what kind of insight and guidance can we receive to make this the best week possible to experience? So now I'm going to take the deck and I'm going to cut it into three. And I'm going to draw the top three cards. The first card from the top of the deck is going to represent the beginning of the week. Second card is going to represent the middle of the week. And then the final card will round out the week. So these are our cards. And I'm going to start by turning the deck over to see what the bottom card is, because the bottom card serves as the foundation or the basis for this week's reading. And here we have the Strength card. So the Strength card is a Major Arcana card, and for me, Major Arcana cards carry a little more weight in a reading when they show up because they represent important issues or events, and they can represent life lessons that we are going to be gaining through the experiences that we have, and they are like spiritual lessons designed for our own sense of growth and development. So Strength card in particular can represent the idea here of standing in our own sense of strength, you know, our strength of character. So it could be that we will have experiences in which our strength of character is going to be tested this week. So for me, Strength can be a card that can represent like being brave and being courageous, and you know, standing in that sense of courage. It can also be about confidence, and so with that, it could be like this could be the week where either one or two things can happen. Our confidence can take a hit and we need a boost, or that we have had a lack of confidence, and as a result something's going to happen this week that's going to boost and elevate that confidence. So it could be a confidence issue one way or the other, and closely connected to that, it could be, you know, our own sense of esteem, because I tend to see the Strength card as a card of self-esteem. So again, it could be that we are going to be having an experience where it's going to hopefully, on a positive side, restore our sense of confidence and our own sense of self-esteem. Now, with that, it could be that we are needing to look at what it is that we're passionate about. Strength is a card of passion, so it could be that some of us watching this video may experience a boost in passion or getting their passion back about something. It could also be about our own sense of physical well-being, because I tend to see the Strength card as a health card. So it could be that we are having to work on restoring our own sense of physical well-being. The word strength here on the card for me usually represents like looking at one's sense of stamina or getting our stamina back. So it could be like some people have been experiencing maybe fatigue, and as a result of something taking place this week, they see a return to their physical well-being. They get a sense of stamina, you know, a return to strength in that regard. So I'm seeing that as a possibility. And with that, it could be that people are needing to look at their diet from a health perspective, and maybe needing to look at what it is that's part of their food intake, because I tend to see this card as the sign of Leo, and from a physical standpoint, Leo rules the stomach. So it could be like in the physical sense that, you know, you're having to look at your physical appetite and what it is that you're eating, and then things affecting your digestive system. But it could also be about your metaphorical appetite. What are you hungry for? What are you craving in life? And this could be the week for you to kind of move along trying to find what it is that you're hungry for, or having that hunger, quote unquote, satisfied. So I'm seeing that as a possibility. Another thing with the Strength card, since the maiden on the card is taming the lion, it could be like we have some experiences this week in which we have to kind of approach things or react and respond to things with a sense of self-control and restraint, because the lion is not roaring. She's actually touching the lion and caressing the lion. So the lion is being tamed. So it could be like, if your typical MO is to kind of rip into people and bite people's heads off, it could be like you are going to have that tested, and you're going to have to adopt the attitude of self-control and restraint, you know, and curbing that normal tendency. I'm seeing that as a possibility, you know, offering a different kind of demonstration. And then from a bigger picture perspective, Strength with that in mind is about how can you be more patient, how can you be more kind, how can you be more loving, because Strength is a card of unconditional love. So how can you love without any conditions? Because in some situations, in some circumstances, we tend to put conditions on the way we love people. So it could be like, how can you move into a space where you can be more unconditionally loving? And even with that, Strength can be a card of forgiveness. So there could be, you know, an experience where forgiveness is being called upon, you know, coming from a place of like being forgiving, and forgiveness with the idea that forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself. And the reason being is because you want to be able to get to a place where you're willing to let go of things like anger and resentment and bitterness, any toxic emotions that are wrapped up in this idea that you might have that you can't forgive someone. So once you get to a place where you are seeing like forgiveness as not being a statement that what you did was okay, or that you're condoning bad behavior, but really what it is an opportunity for you to let go of those negative, toxic emotions, because they're really doing more damage to you than they are to the other person. So forgiveness is actually like a gift you give yourself. So I'm seeing that. And the other thing that I want to say in wrapping up the Strength card is, if you work with angelic energy, because I tend to do angel card readings in this space, the Strength card is a card that represents Archangel Ariel. And Archangel Ariel is the angel who rules the material world. So she rules nature, she rules animals. I call her the environmentalist angel. So with that, it could be like you taking a look at your own physical surroundings, your own physical environment, especially if you're finding that there could be a connection between something in your physical space that's contributing to this sense of maybe fatigue, or, you know, anything having to do with your appetite, or anything having to do with your physical well-being. I'm seeing that there could be a possible connection. So this week it could be like you are taking the step to look at how your physical environment, your physical surroundings may be affecting your sense of physical well-being. So I'm seeing that as the Strength card. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what the 3 cards here for the reading for the week is, and how Strength can serve and support those cards. And now turning our attention to the cards for the week. For the first card for the beginning of the week, we have the 4 of Swords. Okay, so now this is very interesting in light of what I said about the Strength card and the physical well-being and the health aspects of it, because the 4 of Swords can be a card about healing, recovery, recuperation. This could be a sign of like taking time out. So it could be This is at the beginning of the week, we feel the need to take a time out to recharge our batteries, to recover from some situation that's been taking place. It could be naturally with the figure lying on top of this surface here. It could be just a need for rest. You know, how can you get more rest? How can you get more sleep? That kind of energy. So it could be, I'm seeing that, like, how can we get to a place where we need to kind of restore ourselves? I'm thinking that going with the idea of like getting your stamina back. So it could be like simply taking a look at your sleeping patterns and how can you get more sleep and more rest. The other thing from a spiritual standpoint, because the idea here is that this window is a stained glass window, so this could be inside of a church or some kind of spiritual building, then the Four of Swords is taking time out to have a prayer, because the figure is in a prayer position, or a meditative practice. So it could be like, how can you bring more prayer and meditation? So with that, it would be, again, quiet time, contemplation time. How can you bring more of that into your life this week? It could be like maybe you're faced with a situation that you actually have to pray about. And it could be not just praying about it for yourself, but maybe you can collectively get other people to join you in prayer. Because I'm seeing like a prayer circle kind of energy. So it could be like, how can you get more people in that? Because I'm a big believer in strength, playing with the strength card. There's strength in numbers, and so sometimes we need to have people praying with us. And notice that I said with us, because sometimes we ask people to pray, could you pray for me, or could you pray for this, where the better question or the better phrasing of the question is, would you pray with me about that? Because you don't want to kind of take yourself out of that loop. You know what I'm saying? If it's your situation, then you want to be praying on it or praying about it yourself as other people are praying about it with you. So it could be like, maybe there's strength in numbers, because I'm a big believer in, there's a space in Christian scripture that says wherever two or more are gathered together. So there's strength in numbers. So it could be like maybe you enlisting other people to help you with your prayers about a particular situation. So I'm seeing that as the Four of Swords. So again, it could be, you know, the need for, from a physical standpoint, more sleep, more rest. So it could be like, how can you get more sleep? Could you increase your nightly hours of sleep? Or if you feel like you may need to take naps during the day. I talked about the strength card being like a sense of empowerment. So, you know, in light of with the confidence aspect of it, so maybe you just need a power nap, and so you could have 20 to 30 minutes of a power nap, and that might help restore your energy levels. It could also be, again, going with how can you create more contemplation time, more quiet time, and that could encompass or involve the activities of prayer and meditation. So how can you make space for that? That kind of energy this week. So that's the Four of Swords. Now, moving to the middle of the week, we have the King of Swords. So here we have swords cards dominating the reading. And so swords can represent mental activity. So it's about looking at what we're thinking about things. It could be about like exploring ideas or concepts. Swords can be about communication. So there may be communication issues that we need to take a look at. That kind of energy. So the King of Swords in the middle of the week could be going with the Strength card above it. The King of Swords for me represents like, you know, being mindful of being in situations in which one or two things are happening. Either that we are judging and criticizing other people, or that we are on the receiving end of judgment and criticism, because this card can represent having a judgmental or critical attitude, and that can go either way. Sometimes, and I go with that by saying like this card is about like the going before the judge, because as a profession, the King of Swords can be somebody who is a doctor, a lawyer, or a judge. And so I'm saying that, so that's where the idea here, the judgmental or critical attitude could be, because of the idea of going before a judge. And even as I'm saying that, it could be also too, it's like maybe in the middle of the week you're being called to use your ability to judge or discern something, because I'm seeing the word discernment. So it could be like, maybe how can you use this ability to discern to make the best judgment about a situation possible. I'm seeing the idea of like the idea of like a judgment call, like, you know, so it's like about maybe in the moment you're having to make a judgment call. And so with that, swords represents, you know, being rational, being logical, being analytical. So it could be about maybe the facts and the figures, that kind of energy weighing into the decision that needs to be made. You know, with that, it could also be too, like you may need to have more information to make the best well-informed choice possible. So it could be like you moving into a space where if you need to make a decision, the natural question could be like, you know, is there more information you need to have, and how can you go about getting that information so you can make the best and right choice possible. So I'm seeing that. So I also talked about the doctor aspect of it, and it would make sense if we go with the idea here that strength could be a physical well-being card, and then with the Four of Swords coming before it, it could be like somebody is actually, you know, healing and recovering from maybe some surgery that they had to have, you know, going with the idea that the King of Swords is a surgeon or a doctor. Now, going with the idea that a surgeon cuts things, the King of Swords could be following the Four of Swords. It could be that there could be a challenging relationship or a challenging experience in which we have to kind of cut ourselves out or remove ourselves from a situation in which we may need to take a time out, going with the Four of Swords, because the Four of Swords in that regard would be a timeout. It could be like a truce, because if that is the case, the Four of Swords is a truce card for me, which usually represents like something that's temporary. It's not a permanent solution. It could be just like a temporary solution to a problem, because the swords here, on one hand, they can represent problems, challenges, and troubles, but on the other side of that, it's calling into question your ability to problem solve and make decisions. So yes, on the one side, there's challenges and troubles and problems, but on the other side of that, it's also saying, how can you solve that problem? What kind of decisions can you make because of this particular challenge? So it's like one happens because the other one, or the other side of the coin, needs to take place. So you're having a challenge because you need to find out how to solve that challenge. You need to find out how to solve that problem. You need to be able to use your ability for problem solving, and we all have it. It's just a matter of like with the middle of the week that this may be called into your experience. You may have to rely on that sense, and it would be like be more analytical and rational about it rather than becoming really emotional about it. So I'm seeing that as a possibility with the King of Swords. So then at the end of the week, we have the Seven of Cups. Okay, so now at the end of the week, the Seven of Cups is about being faced with a number of choices. The person in the foreground is standing before Seven of Cups, and each cup has something different coming up from the cup. And so that just represents like either a goal or an ideal that each choice has within it. And so for me, this usually represents, again, like I said, being faced with choices or decisions, and to the point where from an emotional standpoint, because now we've had two cards from Swords, which represents a lot of mental activity, here we have a Cup card, which is the emotional side of it. And so it can sometimes create a sense of like emotional overwhelm, or, you know, I don't know what to choose. The clouds here could be on one respect, you know, a sense of confusion. I'm not sure what to choose. And so with that, if you're feeling this sense of like being faced with a number of choices and not knowing which to decide on, going with the Swords energy here with the King of Swords, and you're not sure which one to decide upon, it would be asking yourself, like, from an emotional standpoint, you know, what do you need in your life right now? And then this card would say, focusing on one thing. So it could be like, what's the most important thing? Or is there a possibility that one choice stands out above the others? And if you tackle that and focus on that, then it would lead to the most natural next choice, and then so forth and so on. So it would be like, what's the most important thing? And, you know, how can you just focus your energy on that? Because this card carries with it the sense of scattered energy, and that kind of energy, scattered energy. Now, this card can also come up when we are needing to have a reality check. You know, sometimes it could be like we have, you know, a dream or a wish or a hope, and we may have our head in the clouds about it. we may have rose-colored glasses on about a situation, and then when we get the Seven of Cups, it says it's time for us to become a little more grounded in reality. It's like, life may give us a reality check. So it could be like taking a look at a situation in which you may have a lot of hopes, a lot of wishes, a lot of dreams about it, but at the same point in time, can you have yourself grounded in reality, grounded in the practicality of it? That kind of energy, I'm seeing that. And then the last thing with the Seven of Cups, and it's a natural follow-up to the Four of Swords in this regard, because the Seven of Cups can be a spiritual development card. So it's about looking at your spiritual side and developing that. And with that, this card is also a meditation card. So we have two cards here on each side of the King of Swords that are talking about the same thing, which would be meditation. So, and that could be both a positive and a challenging aspect of it. So it could be the actual practice of meditation, like I said, but it could also be about taking a look at what it is that you're experiencing in your waking life reality, and taking a look at that and see how is that reflective of any thoughts or ideas or beliefs that you are meditating on. Because when we kind of replay a thought in our head again and again, that could become a meditation of sorts. You're meditating on that thought. So it could be like, what are you meditating on, and how can you change that? Is that the truth of the situation? Because sometimes the Seven of Cups is about like not really seeing things as they appear to be. So is that so? It may come to a point where you have to ask yourself, is that really true? Is that idea really true? It could have been true in the past, and it could be saying too, like maybe that's a thought or an idea or a belief that you need to eliminate from your life because it's no longer serving and supporting you. And then with that, the King of Swords, or the Four of Swords and the King of Swords, I should say, represent Archangel Michael. And so Archangel Michael is the angel who helps us cut away, we call it in the angelic world, we call that cutting the cords. And so, but really what that is about cutting any energetic attachments or connections to things, people, circumstances, ideas, beliefs that are no longer serving and supporting us. And so we have to be willing to cut those things away. So it could be, again, reflective of the idea here, but calling upon Archangel Michael to help us cut away those things that are no longer serving and supporting us. And as I mentioned, Archangel Michael can help us when we're in this state of clarity or things not being clear. Archangel Michael is the angel who can help us get that sense of clarity. So we can call upon Archangel Michael to help us make a clear decision, give us the clarity to make the decision we may need to make, or to help us focus, because Archangel Michael is also the angel for helping us take the next action step. So once we gain that sense of clarity and focus, then we'll know how to move forward. So we can call upon Archangel Michael for that. Now, also too, this card being from the Suit of Cups, Cups for me, when I'm reading tarot decks like this particular deck, is the suit that's connected to Archangel Raphael. So if we've had to maybe kind of take a look at a challenging situation and take a time out or call a truce to that, stop the conflict, whatever's going on there, we call a truce. And so each party is agreeing that we're just going to table this challenge for the time being, because there may be a much larger issue that both of you have to kind of take a look at or problem solve together. And so you're putting your other issue aside for the time being so you can do that kind of work. But with that, it could be like if we have to take a time out or truce and we have to kind of maybe cut people or things out from our life, then we can call upon Archangel Raphael to help us with that sense of healing that we're going to need to do after, it's like having surgery and then you have to heal from surgery. So it's like if we're going to work on cutting something out like a surgeon, then we have to have, the healing process afterwards that's going to allow for that. So we can call upon Archangel Raphael to help with that. And as I'm saying that, then the Strength card, what I said about the idea here with appetite and foods, it could be, one of the issues could be like cutting out a craving for something. And then Archangel Michael can cut the attachment to the craving, and then Archangel Raphael can assist as a follow-up to like assist with the healing from that craving. This is something that just came to me, and because the Seven of Cups is about dreams, and so I know that I had my own unhealthy craving for caffeine. I used to drink a beverage called Surge and Vault. So if some of you watching this and you remember that, I was drinking those when I was working at my corporate job, and I used to drink 1 can a day. And then what would happen is I would be on my day is off, my time out, and I would have these painful headaches, and I didn't make the connection that my body was going through caffeine withdrawal when I was having those headaches, because I didn't make the connection. It wasn't until I had a dream, and that's why I'm bringing the dream up, because Seven of Cups can be a card that represents dreams and visions. So I had this dream where I was faced looking at the soda machine at the job, and this was a tap machine, and so the taps were broken, and I was trying to repair the taps, and I couldn't fix it, and then I woke up. So I knew from that dream that it was a call for me to quit caffeine. So I quit caffeine. That was the day. I woke up that day and said, okay, this is the day I'm going to stop having caffeine. And I did it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because some people, when they realize what their unhealthy tendency is, if it's a food related or beverage related thing, like in my case, it was caffeine, some people can get off of it, all at once. They could do it cold turkey, that kind of thing. And then other people need to be weaned off it. So it's about like the idea here, like, it could be something that you can just call upon for help from the angels and say, okay, I'm ready to do this. And you knock it out, you do it cold turkey, and you don't have any symptoms. And that was the other thing, that I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have any severe withdrawal once I made the declaration to do it. But not everybody can do that. And so you have to honor where you're at. And if you have to wean yourself off, then do that. But you have to make the declaration, going with the King of Swords here, you have to make the decision that you're going to eliminate it. And however it happens, whether it's all at once or it's all of a sudden, or it's instant, or it takes time, no judgment there. Don't judge yourself if it takes time, and don't compare yourself to somebody else who may have done it much sooner or instantly. Don't judge yourself, don't compare yourself, because when you compare yourself to other people, you will always fall short. I know that from my own personal experience. You will always be on the losing end of that. So don't do that to yourself. But it could be like you could call upon the angels, especially Raphael, to help wean you from those cravings. So again, Seven of Cups is about maybe possibly looking at your spiritual side this week, going with the Four of Swords in the beginning of the week. Could be like, how can you get yourself further along with the practice of meditation? Also, to take a look at what you're meditating on, any thoughts or beliefs that need to be changed. Don't meditate on something that's no longer serving and supporting you. And then what you can do on the counter side of that is to kind of creative visualize, because this card is about creative visualization, what you would rather have in its place. Again, it could be like, keep your dreams, keep your hopes. I don't want to be a dream crusher or a dream killer. So keep them, but how can you also be realistic and keep yourself with your feet on the ground? You can have your head in the clouds if you want, but make sure your feet are on the ground. So that's the Seven of Cups. And so now we're going to take a look at see what the major arcana card that's going to serve as a lesson card this week, and that's going to come from adding the numbers of all the cards. So we'll do that in just a second. And to find out what our major arcana lesson card is for this week, we're going to take the numbers on all the cards and add those up, and we're going to be looking for a number between 1 and 22, because there are 22 major arcana cards in the deck, so we're going to be looking for a card that corresponds to that. So we have the Four of Swords. We're going to take 4. The King of Swords for me is valued at 14, so I'm going to take 14. And then the Seven of Cups is 7. So that gives us a total of 25. That is over 22. So I'm going to take the 2 and the 5, add them together, and that's a 7. So the 7th major arcana card in the deck is the Chariot. So I'm going to be looking for that. So now the Chariot is a card that can represent progression, advancement, and moving forward. So this is a nice card to have this week because it represents on some level movement taking place. So from a spiritual perspective, this card for me, again, we have another 7 here. So this could be a week where we're taking a look at our spiritual growth and development. And the 7 is a solitary number. So that would make sense with the whole idea with the, and there's no accident how I laid the cards out, with the 4 of Swords on this side and the 7 of Cups on this side, where we look at, you know, solitary practices like prayer, like meditation, even though I talked about prayer being something that we can do either by ourselves or as a collective. And maybe this is more towards the meditation thing, but even though we can also do meditation collectively, which raises the vibration of the intention of whatever it is that we're meditating on. But the 7 is a number of, you know, self-awareness, personal insight, things of that nature, but it can come about through exploring one's spiritual nature. So I'm saying that. Now, the Chariot can also be a card that can be about questioning, going with the idea here, maybe with the whole spiritual aspect of it, you know, questioning our direction in life, you know. So for me, this is about like, what direction is our life moving in? Are we moving in the right direction? Are we going down the right path? You know, that kind of thing. And usually when you're asking that question, that sets you on the course, going with the Chariot energy, that sets you on the course of, you know, possibly a new spiritual path or a new spiritual direction. That kind of energy. It could be like you're exploring something new, or it could be like you maybe have fallen away from something, because I'm seeing like the energy of like maybe, you know, pulling yourself off to the side of the road, and so maybe, you know, maybe you kind of maybe took a detour, or you got sidetracked, or you got sidelined, or you put yourself on the side of the road, so to speak, and so now you are kind of re-emerging or re-engaging with that aspect of your spirituality. It could be that. Chariot, again, is just about progression, advancement, moving forward. It could be with the Sphinxes here, one being black, one being white. It could be one of the challenges this week is how can you move beyond extremes or being pulled in 2 different directions, or the idea here with 2 of the cards, from the reading being from the Suit of Swords. How can you move from the experience of having black and white thinking, because life isn't really all black and life isn't really all white, at least in my opinion. There's really no such thing as, you know, absolutes or, you know, that kind of thing. And so it's a matter of like maybe taking a look at that, you know, if you're going from, or if you've been going down the road of black and white thinking or extremism, you know, how can you kind of maybe, you know, get to the middle of the road, or how can you find the middle ground between the 2 extremes? So I'm seeing that as a possibility. And going with the idea of what I said about your spirituality, the angel that I see attached to this card is Archangel Metatron. And so Archangel Metatron is helpful for us when a couple of things have to happen. So the idea here about rest and recovery, you know, that some of us may be experiencing from a physical well-being standpoint. Archangel Metatron can come in when we need to have our energy field cleared. So it could be whatever it is that you're experiencing from a physical well-being standpoint. You might want to consider calling on Archangel Metatron to help you clear your field. You know, so it could be like, yes, you have Archangel Michael come in and assist you with cutting the cords. Then you follow up with Archangel Raphael to help you with the healing from an emotional standpoint. You know, whatever the emotional issues or connections are to that experience, helping you heal from that standpoint. And then once that has happened, then you can call upon Archangel Metatron to help clear your field, so you don't attract anything like that into your auric field again. That's one possibility. Another thing with Metatron, especially if you're embarking on a new spiritual path, for me, I tend to look at Archangel Metatron, who helps us with the sense of being initiated into something new from a spiritual standpoint. So it could be like you are finding yourself, as you move on your spiritual path, attracted to maybe a modality going with that. Then the Strength card, which I said was Archangel Ariel, the Strength card could be energy healing. So it could be like you may be picking up an interest in energy healing, and so then you could be calling on your angels to help you with that. Archangel Raphael and Archangel Uriel are wonderful healing angels. You know, again, and also too, I call other healing angels like the Ministry of Healing Angels. So it could be not just those two, but any angels that are associated with healing. You could call upon them to assist you with your practice with that. And then Archangel Ariel too, because if it's a hands-on energy healing too, and you're working with people with their physical bodies in that regard, then she would also be helpful with that. So I'm seeing that it could be energy healing going with that. It could also be that you are being called to explore something more intricate and having to do with a new concept, ideas, ways of thinking with the two swords that were in the reading, and that would be like maybe sacred geometry. I know that Archangel Metatron rules things of an esoteric nature like sacred geometry, because he has the symbol of the Merkaba. I want to make sure I'm saying that right. The Merkaba, or Metatron's cube as it's normally called, that's attached to him, and that actually translates to Chariot of God. So that's where we get that from for the Chariot and for Metatron. And then the other thing, the other angel that's connected to esoteric things, if you're moving into a new esoteric discipline, would be Archangel Raziel. Archangel Raziel, his name translates to the secrets of God. And so whenever we're working with a new metaphysical or esoteric discipline, we can call upon Raziel to assist us with that. And especially if you're working with sacred geometry, you could consider Metatron and Raziel working together with you on that. So I'm seeing that. Again, the Chariot is all about progression, advancement, and moving forward on your path. It could be that you are being initiated into something new from a spiritual standpoint. You can call upon your angels to assist you with that. It could also be, too, how can you look at maybe if you're looking at things from extremes or feeling like you're being pulled in two different directions, or you're looking at things in terms of being black or white. How can you find maybe the middle ground or the middle road for that, so you're not pulling yourself off into extremes? And as I'm saying that too, one of the other things with the Chariot could be like, how can you reclaim a sense of being in control or regaining control of your life? Because the Chariot is all about being behind the driver's wheel. So if you felt like maybe you kind of relinquished control of your life to a person, a situation, a circumstance, and you've kind of either put yourself off to the passenger seat or giving yourself the back seat, you know, how can you work on putting yourself back in the driver's seat and taking control of the steering wheel again? You know, how can you do that? So again, that's my take on the Chariot, and this will bring our tarot card reading for the week to a close. I am James Himm Mitchell, and as I sign off, I want to thank you for joining me for this week's reading and for sharing this space with me. And I also am looking forward to sharing this space here again with you in our next video together. So until then, I'm wishing you a wonderful day. I'm hoping that you have a tarot-tastic week. And until our next video together, take care.